Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, sorry, it has been a while since my last video. Well, life got in the way. Either way, we're just gonna go do the usual quick echo while we go through a simple explanation of the build. It's something I've tried in the past. There's probably a video somewhere on my channel about an elemental nova with dots. This is a hit version. It is a similar setup. And the plan is still very similar as well, where you're gonna just stack enough mana regen so you can just spam invocation. Because we rely, the idea is, if we're able to get enough mana to just be able to spam Runic Invocation, we're just gonna be using Elemental Nova and spamming Invocation. Because every time we pop Invocation, we get currently like 800 ward. Well, ideally with proper gear we should be able to get like 1k or something around those lines. You can imagine, like, if every 4 cast we're triggering 1k ward, that would be like 250 per cast. A lot of ward. I tested it with dummy. If I could spam it as it stands, if I had enough mana to just spam it, I would be able to maintain 7k ward per second. 7k ward while hitting stuff like the maximum by doing this. Of course we need to hit stuff in order to be able to maintain that much. As you can see, 5k easy even without a target and no HP, so our Art is not doing anything either. But anywho, it's gonna go. Right, you want to abuse Glyph of Dominion is a very good defensive for us. It will give us a cleanse every time we plop it down. We'll have cleanse. When we stand in it we get extra resist, which means we get extra elemental penetration for our elemental nova. And we also get plus ward per second. Generally you want to use that when you actually need the defenses. You shouldn't be worrying too much. Try to teleport often so you can get your the extra armor and the extra defenses it provides. And then just spam your elemental nova, because it costs no mana, so we can just spam it willy-nilly. Because we got it down to 0 mana cost. We can just stand here and spam. And as you can see, we currently already have enough mana to be able to spam everything without worrying too much. But we want to be able to maintain even more. So in the final planner, we will have 30 mana regen instead of 20. And that should make a significant difference. You should be able to, if not like fully spam this all the time, like I am now, almost. But yeah, that's the build. We'll get onto it afterwards, and this time I want to try and see if I can kill the character, so to speak, or just push as much corruption as I can as it stands, and see what's actually possible with it. Anywho, let's move on into the skills and whatnot. So, as I was saying, this is our setup. We have Elemental Nova. Yeah, 38, because we're getting a lot of skill points. You have T7 Elemental Nova on Helm, and we're using the Elemental Nova Helm, so the Helm alone is 10 skill points. Then we have Invoker set, and we're using the Primordial Set Ring, which gives us, just those two gives us, how much is it? I think 4? And there's probably something missing here. We're also getting one from Twisted Heart, but that will cover on gear, doesn't matter. Anywho, so what is the idea behind this? We go here so we can get the minus mana cost. This is really important, because we really want Elemental Nova at 0 mana cost, so we can spam it and not having to worry about mana. There's also another thing, which is a passive that gives us ward and mana every 3 direct casts, every 3 seconds, by using 0 cost mana. Mana skills, 0 mana cost skills. So this is really important. Then, depending on what weapon you're using, we can get more points here. You need to be careful because there's a fine balance. So in order to be able, if you could get a wand that gives you -5 mana cost, you could get another point in there. So just leaving that as an option, just so you guys are aware. Then we want to go here to get the more damage against shield, frozen shocked, or whatever, because we're going to be applying that anyway. So yeah, just free 30% extra damage. This one obviously more damage and more area. This is doubled when you're using it directly, so we get 80% damage and 50% area. Then down here, really important, we want to be able to cast it at range instead of being on ourselves. If you are willing, you can try to cast it on yourself. It's up to you. I'll leave that up to you. Then here, really also pretty important, we want to grab that so we can get, essentially we can crit cap. That's the purpose of getting this 5% critical strike chance, 9% critical strike chance. And then here you go for the crit multiplier. I put a point in here. You can select to put it somewhere else. Like this point, I went for the 4 damage. You could go for 10% extra penetration. You could go for 20% more area. I'll leave this up to you. I'm still wondering if maybe 1 point there would be better, instead of an additional multiplier of 4% damage. But you know, either way, moving on, we go into teleport. We obviously go and grab the Elemental Nova procs, because well, we are focusing on Elemental Nova, so being able to get 3 extra hits just from using teleport is nice, because if you use that close range, all of them will essentially go off at the same place, so they are extra 3 hits. Here is just a nice bonus of damage. This is to unlock that. Here we will go for the reduced cooldown, and then there's a bonus later on, because the plan is to have haste on our on one relic, to have haste on evade. So by doing that, then you can maintain haste with helmet rush. And here we go for the armor, and then since I didn't know exactly where to put it, I just put for the buff to last a bit longer. You could pick something else if you want to be really, if you're really on point using teleport, you can just shove these like on the mana, or get more lightning and stun avoidance. Up to you. Or even the knockback on arrival if you really want to. Can be useful. Okay, now the other really important skill, Runic Invocation. So same logic, we go here for the crit, so you can get crit chance. So it's also crit capped along with Elemental Nova every time you, just for the I can't remember the greater Elemental Nova, I think. So it's crits all the time. It's nice to have, you don't really need it. Also shocks, so figured it would be a good spot to invest the rest of our points. Here, this buff is really important, especially early on. I mean, we're always gonna have 3 different runes with Elemental Nova, the way I have it set up. So you just pop it to 3 runes. If you have only 1 point here, you get 3 seconds. If you drop 2, you get 6 seconds, so you have this buff up all the time. Here, we're also pretty good. Helps us sustain mana. We get 40% of the mana cost back, and we get a bit of ward. Here, current mana gained as ward, so if we can manage to have a really high mana pool, this means we get even more ward. Not gonna be that much. Say if we manage to get our mana almost fully topped all the time, you'd get 45 more ward. 45 ward every time extra on top of that. It's nice, but nothing really important. Here I went to grab more area, because since we are using Greater Elemental Nova, it's nice to have the extra area. And the reason we're using the Greater Elemental Nova, this is actually important, I need to explain it. 2 things is, one, the gear, the Guardian Prism, guarantees that we get Guardian Prism Nova. without having to think. You don't ever need to think. As you can see, it's always proccing the Nova due to Guardian Prison. And the reason we want that is because of Brand here, the Brand of Deception. For that, you need a lightning skill that costs more than 15 mana, and is important, it's a hit. So if you don't use the Guardian Prism, there's a chance you get the things that are not hits, that are considered dots. So they won't apply the brand, which means we'd lose the 10% multiplier, the 12% multiplier from this passive. Either way, here, yeah, it's just the leftover points. You don't prioritize any of this, but you prioritize, you go grab that thing. You can get the elemental penetration. You can get the mana refund. Early on, you want probably the mana refund and the buff. Then you want to rush for this to proc Elemental Nova whenever you cast it. So since we're using Elemental Runic Invocation with 3 different runes, every time you cast it, it casts 3 additional Novas. And this one is really important. When you use Invocation using a sequence of 3 different runes, which will always be, you get 6 ward per point of intelligence. So currently we have 105 ward, 105 intelligence, which means we get 630 ward. And as you can see, look at our ward, 1834, 1600. And later on, we should be, with the idealized gear, we should be able to generate like 1k ward every time we plop down Runic Invocation, which helps a lot with our survivability. And then we get damage. You want to get as much damage as possible. And yeah, then you go here. In here, same thing. We just go with the spell fire damage, because hey, more spell damage, more damage, right? And there's also the ignite, which is useful to proc this. Flame ward. This is nice to have. This is a bit of automation, so if you do get stunned, it automatically casts. You don't have to worry as much about it. And then you go for the armor. Really important, less hit damage. So this node is the reason why Flame Ward is so good, because if you know you're going to be taking damage, just pop Flame Ward, and during those 4 seconds, the extra duration, you're going to be taking like 30% less damage plus 40% less hit damage. I think these are multipliers, so it's not 70% flat, but it's a good amount of damage reduction. And then finally we get Glyph of Dominion. This is again another one for a buff type of skill. We're not using it for the damage, we're using it to buff ourselves. So really the 45 all reses, which gives us, if I remember right, it's 90, 135. So we get 10% of that, 13.5% penetration for the Elemental Nova. So yeah, damage from there, and then you get the haste in cleanse. Really important, getting a point there. You can get more points in here if you want the extra haste. It's not a bad idea. Again, you can do you do this, right? And then you pop teleport. And then as soon as, if you can keep teleport going, you're gonna have haste essentially up all the time without having to worry too much. Then here, mana efficiency, just, it's easier to spam, because we will be able to spam it due to how we set it up. Because we went here, every cooldown, Glyph of Dominion has a cooldown when you use it. However, when you pop Runic Invocation, it removes the cooldown. It will also consume runes. This is also useful, so you get an extra detonation and more area and more damage. This is not mandatory. You might later on you might even consider speccing out of it when you have enough mana to just be able to spam everything, just so it doesn't consume your runes. But currently it's not like it's not like we have any problem generating runes. As you can see, it generates runes pretty fast, so I figured why not just get a bit more damage and a bit more usefulness out of it. And you go here, you just want 1 point, because when you cast Elemental Nova, you cast Elemental Nova in the middle of it when the delay from Doomscribe starts. So when this delay activates, it will automatically proc an Elemental Nova by itself. As you can see. So more Elemental Novas is good. And yeah, that is it. Oh right, we also get ward per second per 5% uncap resists. So when we're standing in it, we're also getting a decent amount of ward gen. So when you actually get around to it, we do end up having a good amount of ward being generated. And again, this is without hitting anything. You can see we can already hit 6k. And I guess that's it for skills. Okay, now passives. So, as you can see, essentially we're gonna be investing highly into Rune Master. The only thing we come here from Sorcerer is to get the increased spell crit chance based on it. It helps us crit cap fairly easily without I don't think I have any investment in crit chance on my gear. That's how good this node is. So yeah. And Mage, well, we went for Int. Here we put a point for extra damage. You can shove that there, up to you. I figured 7% extra damage is good. You can also put a point here. Up to you, really. The important is getting the ward retention, getting the cast speed, and getting the Int. Those are we all covered. And now Rune Master. What you want is you want to start here, get the mana and cast speed. But most importantly, you want the mana burst. You want 5 points here, so you get that mana burst, 15 mana every 3 seconds, so 5 mana per second. It's what this is worth. Also the extra ward is nice. That's why one of the reasons you want Elemental Nova costs 0. Then here you get 14 ward every time you cast a spell. It's nice to have, not really important. But what's important is the Int. Here, Int and crit reduction. And this one is really important. If you can afford, you get a 1 more point there, because, well, 12 ward per rune every time you cast an area skill. So these two are area skills. This is also an area skill. So every time you're casting, you're getting 36 ward. I'm maxing that out. 36 ward just from casting. Along with that, that's already 40 ward per cast. So these little bits, they increment on top of each other into you getting a whole lot of ward per second. Here, mana regen. Early on, this is not really important. It's something you want to put later. Same thing with this. Early on, the crit chance won't be that helpful. Later on, it will. Also, the bonus is good. This is really good for damage reduction. Also gives you a little bit of health, but it's mostly for the damage reduction. Here, mana regen. Obviously, like I said, we want to stack as much mana regen as possible, so this is good. Damage multiplier, good as well. This two already covered them on the skills, but you go here to get the Brand of Deception proc. So you can get this 12% damage multiplier from having Brand. Then you want 1 point here, here, and here. What will happen is every time you use Elemental Nova, since it's triple element, you have a chance of proccing these. What will happen in the end is, we can't check it here. No, you can. As you can see, you'll be able to maintain them fairly without worries. And that's an extra 30 spell damage. That's what you want out of them. You don't really care for anything else, you just want the extra spell damage. And here I put a point here just for the extra duration. Might not be needed. I'll leave this one up to you. So this is not a priority. What is a priority, however, is getting this 7 points here. Flat spell damage, which we don't have much because we're using Mad Alchemist Ladle. And the extra spell damage, an extra multiplier for branded bosses. So you get this, you get 12, and then another 7%. And here you'll also want that, because you're gonna have a bunch of ward up all the time, so it's just free damage. You also get extra ward gen, so it's pretty nice. And it can trigger 5 times per second, so at the most, with 4 points, you can get 8, 8, 16, 32, 40 ward per second. At the most. And that's that. And that's the passives. Fairly simple and straightforward, I think. Just go for the mana regen, you go for the damage, and you go for damage reduction. All these good free spell damage you can get. And yeah, that's that. Now, moving on to gear. Okay, now gear. This is the setup I have. So, like I said before, we are using Legends Entwined. Ideally, you want the perfect one with 5 all attributes, 5 all raises. Again, it's not that important because we are only really using one full set. The reason why this is nice is we can use a piece of Alvar's to just get 40 spell damage. So you go here, you put these, you get your crit, you get some Citadel boots, you put Halvar's seal on it, so you instantly get, with Legends Entwined, you instantly get 40 spell damage. And then the rest you can just cover whatever you want, resists, whatever resist you need, intelligence, and movement speed. You can check, like, I will have, again, Aspirational, I'll have the Aspirational, like, fully min-maxed Aspirational gear. I'm just giving you an idea of the gear you might want, and what's the most important stats, and then you can figure out the rest. Again, I'm currently using a whole bunch of these just to fix my resists, which ideally I shouldn't need to. So we could replace these with the mage ones that give you ward per rune on Runic Invocation, which is really, really good. Anywho. So here, Twisted Heart, I have intelligence on the planet. You can do intelligence, cast speed, intelligence or cast speed, but what you really want alongside it is getting the second stat. If you can get to T2, get mana regen on it. Same thing here. You want intelligence T7, and then if you can get a T5 mana regen. Same thing here. You want T7 int mana regen. Unfortunately, well, you know what how set crafting is, and this was the best I could get so far. But ideally, you want int, you want mana regen, and you want that spell damage to be the sets affix to be sealed. Then you want poison res and ward per second. The reason why we go for ward and not health is because we are a build completely focused around ward, so having that extra ward decay threshold is actually, for me, feels better than having health. This also pretty important. This is what helps you crit cap. Also gives you the stagger on hit damage from bosses and rare enemies, which is good for your survivability. The bleed is whatever, and the leech is also really, really important, just so you can actually make use of the 8% of current health converted to ward and still be able to recoup back your health. And again, cast speed, fizz res. We got res on this because, well, we don't really need anything else. Since we are a ward focused build, extra health doesn't really help us that much, and getting the fizz res will open up more slots for other things like ward per second or ward things on the rings and amulet. Okay, Mad Alchemy Saddle, T7 cast speed, most important. The rest, up to you, up to what you can find. Shock is good, because then you can get 10 shock stacks, which helps the lightning damage bit of your Elemental Nova do a bit more damage. But that's really not important. You can make do with a single or a 1 or 2 LP Mad Ladle. Really important is get the D7 cast speed, and then getting the increased mana regen is pretty good as well. You can go crit, you can go spell damage even for the second, for your second for the T5. I would suggest mana regen, just because again it goes back to what I said before. The whole way this build works is by spending a lot of mana, and every time, and so you can spam Runic Invocation, and we get a stupid amount of war gen. I don't think the extra crit multiplier is good. Don't get me wrong, it's extra damage, but I think this ends up feeling better with the build idea to maintain damage and sustain. Okay, then we can go for the belt. Yeah, we're using simple Isadoras because it gives us cast speed, it gives us a whole bunch of armor. There's really nothing else we can grab. Sure, you can go for a Praetorian, you sacrifice your cast speed. You can get like a cleanse on potion use, which is not that important since you already have cleanse on Glyph. And you can more or less spam Glyph. So it's not that important getting the cleanse. But you can go with the Praetorian, get a cleanse, and get mana regen. This would be the reason if I ever swap out of Isadoras, is to get a Praetorian with T7 mana regen. For me, it's the only thing that makes sense to replace this. And then trying to get on it as much armor as you can. Because that 31% increased armor makes a heck of a difference. Like, this belt alone gives us 10% armor mitigation, which is pretty good. Okay, a Civil Core, T7 int. You want to get one as good rolled as possible. You don't really care much for the increased mana, you care for the mana regen, and you care for the elemental damage. That's what you care about the most. Then whatever else you can get. If you can get a good roll on the elemental on the 6 Nova dealing more damage, that's also good. But not that important. And then this is the really important item on the whole build, which is Crest of Unity. First, it gives you, as you can see, 10 Elemental Nova skill points, which helps a lot, making Elemental Nova do some damage. Gives you Elemental Penetration based on your uncapped Elemental Resist, which is what I meant by the Glyph of Dominion giving you like 13% penetration. And really important, and this is the other role you want to care about, is the Elemental Nova levels and the damage reduction. Is that damage reduction goes up to 18%. That's a lot of damage reduction. That's 2 red rings worth of damage reduction almost. So yeah. Then the base is really good. You also want to get as much mana regen and mana spent gain as ward as possible. And then here for the second stat, you'd probably want int. Here for the second stat, you'd probably want mana ward per mana spent. Both. That's what I would go for if I want to go for the 2 LP of these. Then Guardian Prism, cast speed. Then you can go crit damage or spell damage. I will recommend going for the defensive stats, especially the resist you're missing. But try to get the T7 cast speed. Damage, we already have enough damage. Like this thing I think killed Abbey in what, 4 minutes? Not even. It is decent damage wise, and we are still lacking a lot of stuff. Here we have T7 spell damage. It is what it is. Again, going back to the pain of set crafting. It ideally want the evoker to be sealed. The cast speed is good, don't get me wrong. There is an argument for you to try and get T7 cast speed instead. You could do that. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's better to just seal it as tier 1 or something and get mana regen and spell damage, or mana regen and crit damage. I think increased spell damage might be better overall as an overall damage gain, but that would be maths, not really the type of min-maxing I do. And here, and this is the set that gives you 3 skill points for Elemental Nova. That's why you really want that. 3 skill points and 30% increased cast speed. Like, it's just nice. Then this is the base you want. I forgot to say, you want the brass amulet. You can replace it for something like an Oracle if you can find it, so you can get a bit more damage dot mitigation. Up to you. Might be better later on. One thing, now that I'm talking about the dot, one thing that's really important about this build is because of this node that we're taking 12% increased cold damage. So Ghost is actually really scary. So be careful with Ghost. And I guess we covered everything for gear. So now idols. Let's go blessings first. Blessings. They go for crit damage. You go for all reses, armor, and then ward per second. There's nothing much else that we can get that is this good. I think this is how I set it up. This is what it is. And now blessings. Getting these, you will need 4 idols with crit chance and crit multi. I think 3 might be enough to crit cap yourself, but 4 makes it easier, makes it simpler. It also helps balancing your resists, and if you feel like you don't need a resist, you can just get ward per second on the second instead of getting resists. Currently I'm using them to cap out my resists. You could probably replace this one with ward per second. But yeah, they give you crit multi. They are nice. These small ones you want either ward retention and whatever resist you're missing, or mana and whatever resist you're missing. Mana regen. Armor is also an option, just throwing it out there. And then you'll want to have like 4 of these miners. Currently we have these because we need them to fix our resists. But ideally you'd want an adorned mage idol with ward per rune on your Runic Invocation, because you can get like 38 per rune, which means you get almost 120 ward every time you cast Runic Invocation with 3 runes. Yeah, that is that. Currently we have these just cap resist again, and that's essentially idols. Alright. Okay, so as for leveling this, you can level with Elemental Nova. It's not that bad, but I did level it with some gear I already had, so it made it a bit easier. So essentially this was what I was using early on for a long time. So it is the Halvar piece, the Halvar set, the 2-piece at least, so you can get the 40 spell damage, really useful. You can also go with the 3-piece early on, since you can get the chance of an avalanche. Not really. I would not recommend. Using a staff early on is good, like spell damage cast speed, possibly. It will depend on how early you can get to the minus mana cost and the range. It will be up to you how you end up playing. If you don't mind it being melee range, really close to you, you can go straight for the minus mana cost, so you can spam it. If not, I would recommend going for the node that gives you the cast on range, even if the mana sustain is kinda meh. But yeah. Going with gear, yeah, +1 to Elemental Nova makes a hell of a difference. Getting an early Invoker set also pretty good, because then you can get 3 skill points. Well, you can only get 3 skill points on Elemental Nova if you put like points here, there, and there. So Invoker kinda negates itself in a bit, in a sense, because if you put a point here, you only get 1 skill point from Invoker. So then you'll want to put another here, so you get another skill point, which means you use it up and you get it back. And same logic here. So you just get more damage by getting all of these and still having a skill point to use, still keeping your skill point. Essentially just take it as getting these 3 nodes for free with Invokers. So you get like 21% more damage for free. Then you either go here for the elemental cast at target, which is what I did, or you go beeline for this so you can get it to 0 mana cost, so you can spend it. So you can spam it. gonna be up to you and what kind of gear you have, because if you have, say, some gears with mana regen, you can just run that, get mana regen on belt, get mana regen on rings, and you should be able to sustain with a staff, or especially if you go with staff or wand, because the mana cost. You can also run starter, because you get it has -4 mana cost for fire spells, and Elemental Nova is all type, so you still get the -4 mana cost on it. Later on, you'll want the ladle for the extra spell damage for the hit. The extra little bit of spell damage it provides, and it's easier to get. Oh, easier. They are about the same. So ladle is an option. I just prefer Alchemist, just better because it will give you a whole bunch of cast speed. Because you're gonna have so much int, you're gonna be int stacking, so it's just gonna be better long term. You can spam it more because you want to spam as much Elemental Nova as possible. Either way, yeah, this is the gear I use. Cast speed, resists, Halvar, invokers. These are older gears, as you can see. Yeah, I used this. Then I really needed the Ivory Ring base to get Necrotic Res, and to get the War Decay is also nice. Although you can use a Sphere, so you could replace this with that. I ended up going this way, but you could also go replace these, and it would also work just fine. As you can see, older pieces, getting the spell crit early on when you don't have that much int, etc. is useful. Could be useful. This was the one I was using before because, well, we weren't lucky. Yeah, Brass Amulet. Getting a Brass Amulet with invokers early on is invaluable. Getting mana regen on it is also pretty good. And as you can see, this is what I was using. Well, this one I ended up never using it. That ward gain per consumed Runic Invocation is also not bad. You can also use that temporarily until you get around to this. As soon as you get to Crest of Unity, you just equip Crest of Unity. There's no two ways about it. It's the single best item for this build. And it's that item that will never get changed, just because it provides so much damage and defenses. It's a really good item. Yeah, as you can see, more invoke Alvars. Alvar is really good. I also used this for a while for the Fizz Res, ward per second. Here you don't really care about health. You just want to get ward, as much ward. Ward. Health, it's not a good way to go. Try and make your mage run. I used this for a while as well because of all the armor it provided. Oh yeah, these are like examples of items you could use temporarily until you get something nice. This was the stuff I used early on. Same thing with the armor for the Fizz Res. Here I was using cast speed spell damage, and average is also pretty good early on because of the elemental leech. So yeah, that is it really. You can, it will be up to you. You can also just level with Lightning Blast instead, using Lightning Blast here until later on when you have enough skill points to then spec into Elemental Nova. You can get the minus mana, so you can spam the Elemental Nova, getting you the range and minus mana. That takes a lot of skill points. And then go for the damage here. You should get this later on. I would not prioritize getting the crit early on. At least until you get enough int for this to be worth getting. You get a good amount of crit chance. I think, if I remember right, yeah, this was the last thing I passed through. On the invocation you can get it earlier because it's easier, but again, the Grand Prism Nova is not gonna be doing that much damage. Just nice to have just a little bit of extra damage. That's how I see it. This is not really that important. And yeah, that is that. I had plenty of fun, and I'll still be doing Probably after this, after I finish editing the video and doing all that, I'm gonna go and push this as much as I can on stream to see where we can, how much corruption we can push as it stands. Maybe we get an upgrade or two. Maybe. We'll see. Anywho, thanks for dropping by. Sorry for being a bit out of it. I think I burned myself out a little bit, playing too much LE. And now I took a little bit of a break, so we're gonna slowly get back into it. Although I'll be playing it less, because I found a new passion on Spirit Veil, which is a game, an MMORPG that is very similar to Ragnarok Online. Although it's not even on early access, it's only on playtest, but it is on Steam. If you guys are interested, you can check that out. I'll probably have a video on it soon after this. And yeah, after you're gonna get the Abbey Kill, and hopefully if I can get to it, having a clip, I'll see how much corruption. If not, I'll leave it on the description, how much corruption I actually managed to push with this. And if we died, I'll try to add it in the clip. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. Okay, we're testing out to see if we can avoid getting murdered on Abbey. The
altar of oblivion.
I don't know, man. I don't know if this is tanky enough.
To me, and with a guest. But first, prove yourselves worthy.
Aberroth! Face us yourself!
Maybe it is enough.
Entertain my dear sister for a moment.
Traveler, don't worry about me.
Such wasted potential. Oropis would have welcomed you. You fight for nothing. The void hungers. See the beauty we were denied. The terror turned her back on us. The void hungers. Darkness reigns. Weak and worthless. The gods tore our world apart. They deserve their fate. Weak and we treated the world no better. Death is our legacy. Die. The void comes. Weak and worthless. The world calls to this. This is its answer. The void comes. Hope will not save you. Fight for nothing. The void hungers. Weak and worthless.
Well, that was a bit sketchy. That last bit was a bit sketchy. But it went better than I expected. Actually, that was quite enough damage. Yeah, as long as I kept casting, yeah.
Aberroth. No.
Oh, a Nihilus. Nice.
Asteros.
Ah, and,